change is an inevitability. Not only is it important to have different jobs, but it's also important to diversify the medium that you are working in. There's no such thing anymore as going into the industry wanting to be a TV reporter, because what is a TV reporter? A TV reporter is filing on social media. They're tweeting, they're Instagramming, they're Facebooking. They have to write web copy for the story that they're doing. They have to probably supplement any other media arms that the company that they work for has. They might be filing a story for radio. So I would say educate yourself on the different opportunities for, if it's reporting, for example, for storytelling, what are the avenues by which you can tell that story, opposed to limiting yourself to one arm of an industry. And even if one day you end up getting that gig that is solely, being a web journalist, for example, again, that's where my first piece of advice comes into play, which is that's only going to help you to understand how the different moving parts of an operation really work. Be ready to be nimble and be ready to kind of pivot whatever your learning process is. In the current position, if you were interested in being a director or a floor producer, I would watch TV, and that's your homework. Watch TV. I'm not even kidding, but see how these shows are evolving and how they have chosen to adapt their plans according to COVID. On BT, we, like I said, we have a lot of Zoom calls and Skype calls on a live show, but on shows with a studio audience, for example, they've had to completely change their approach. No studio audiences anymore, so it no longer necessitates something like an audience coordinator, for example. So look at those tiny little nuances to how the shows have had to change, and perceive them as a viewer. I'm not even bothering telling you to analyze them as a professional, but as a viewer, what are you noticing in your viewing experience? Because if you're interested in becoming that director, when you would be that conduit to the viewer, what you are doing would be giving the viewer that experience, because the director has that final they're the last line of defense on the show. They're the ones that allow something to either go to black or go live on the air. So watch the show as a viewer to understand how you feel it's changing and how your viewing experience is changing. That would be the first thing. And then the second thing I would say is keep in line with the technological changes. I mean, 3 years ago when I was planning my wedding, I had my first Zoom call. I had no idea what Zoom was, and it didn't even occur to me or matter to me after I finished those planning sessions with my decorator. And 3 years later, COVID happens, and that app that I downloaded for that one meeting is now the talk of the town that everybody's on. We're discussing things around privacy concerns. We're discussing things around apps and house parties and putting bunny ears on people that we're talking to, for example. So understand the technology as it's evolving and what people are using, what they're comfortable with and familiar with, and just make sure that you're equipped to not only learn about that technology, but like I said before, evolve with it. Knowing that you're not above any job, especially when you're starting off, like a level of humility in realizing that, and even to this day, like understanding that like there's no job too big or small for anyone. It's about what you want to do and what the bigger picture is. The understanding that everybody has their own story to tell really helps you kind of humanize the people that you're working with, instead of kind of putting them into this box of colleague or boss, or even your own intern, for example. So realizing that everybody has their own story, and then I would say being curious again. And I keep talking about that curiosity, but that really would be what drives you. And I find that employers often notice the people who are curious, because they're the ones asking questions, who are unafraid to ask the questions and put their hands up and be a little bit vulnerable, because within curiosity comes a bit of vulnerability, because you are almost openly showcasing what you don't know, but at the same time you're also showcasing that you have this expansive brain that wants to know, and you're hungry for that information. So have those two traits when you're walking into your first couple of jobs. And adaptability, I guess, would be the third one, because it would be not just adapting to change, but adapting to what you didn't perceive that first gig would be.